The time is 10:24. And my name is John Martin, and I'm calling to order the County Development Committee of Tuesday, November 16th, 2021. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Brown,
Brown here.
Berman,
Berman here.
Ford,
Present.
Iqbal, Kenyon,
Here.
Wojnicki. Present. Fraz,
Here.
Caius,
Kai's present.
Heerog, Shepro,
Shepro here.
Martin.
Martin present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. We have minutes before us for September 21st and October 19th. May I have a motion, please, for approval? Mr. Fries moves. Mr. Ford seconds.
Do we have agendas?
Excuse me?
Agendas? Unanimous consent?
No.
No.
Oh,
Mr. Chairman, Shepro,
sure.
in lieu of the motion, may I ask unanimous consent to place the minutes on? file?
Sure. What the heck?
Unless you like
Yes.
having roll
We
calls.
object.
You always have to bring a lawyer to get it done. Right?
I'm trying to train everybody. Save time.
I've always been untrainable, so.
All right.
Monthly financials are attached and on file. Should you have further questions, please contact the Finance Department. Public comment. We have one person registered, Mr. David Giordano. Do you want to speak, Mr. Giordano? Mr. Giordano,
Was.
are you online, Mr. Giordano? Okay, he's not. I will address what Mr. Giordano said as we reach petitions. May we please have the building and zoning report?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This morning's report is a little bit different than normal. A couple of items. One of our very valued staff members, Michael Siciliano, is retiring again and leaving our employment. Michael Siciliano is a retired Chicago police officer. He then moved out to Geneva with his family and worked for the King County Forest Preserve on their police department and did an excellent job with them. Then he joined our team about 5 years ago, where he has done a spectacular job working primarily as our code enforcement officer, working on nuisance and property maintenance and dangerous building complaints. So Michael's his work with us is very appreciated. He's going to be much missed, and we wish him the best in the next stage of his life. That is going to leave a large hole in our department. I want to give you, if I could indulge you, a little bit of history on the history of for code enforcement that the county board has invested in. Back in 2008, the county board took a comprehensive look at nuisance and property maintenance in the county, made the many of the current revisions that we have in our Chapter 15 nuisance and property maintenance by combining things that were scattered through a couple different chapters, put it into one chapter. Along with those changes was a recommendation for creating a code enforcement unit of 3 persons. But if you remember in 2008, that was when there was a downturn in the economy. There was a hiring freeze, so that unit was never created. No one was hired for those positions. At that time, the health department, who was primarily charged with many of the nuisance types of things in the ordinance, and the then director, Paul Kaner, and I came up with a plan to cooperatively between our 2 departments cover those cases and investigations. And that continued up through 2016, when there were some reductions in the health department. Our team assumed more of the geography in terms of the areas that we covered. And then when the pandemic hit, we assumed 100% of the caseload for nuisance and property maintenance for the most part. So that being said, as we go into posting for the position and hiring for Michael's replacement, we'll appreciate some patience in the follow up on property nuisance and complaint cases. We'll be trying to spread that among existing staff while we get somebody hired. Also, if you have anyone who you think would be interested in the position, we'd be happy to talk to them and get this position filled as quickly as we can. The other announcement we have is we reported last month, we intended to reopen the development department for regular office hours. And that was delayed a little bit because of the elevator project, but the elevator was completed yesterday morning. We reopened yesterday morning with regular business hours. I want to thank facility management for all the work they've done on the 4th floor to kind of spread our team out and add plexiglass panels and security measures for us. Thank you also to the health department for their recommendations and to HR for their recommendations in terms of establishing policies and procedures through this. So with that, also want to invite you, if you'd like to, after the meeting, you're welcome to come up. I'll meet you in the elevator lobby and get you through security doors or whatever if you want to tour our department and say hi to any of our team that are back in. We are coming back in shifts, so it's not everybody at the same time, but we've able to service our walk-in customers from here on out. With that, that's all I have unless there's any questions.
Comment?
Mr. Fries?
Mark, could you make sure that Kane County Connects is aware of the opening and maybe we could get it out on there?
Sure. Yeah, we'll get on the website. We can do something in Kane County Connects, and thank you for that suggestion.
Little food or something like that, cookies. Cookies and milk.
Yeah, do we get a party for Michael?
Yeah, that'll get.
Yeah.
Anything else of Mr. Banker?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, this is Bill Leonard. Could I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, rumor has it, and I'm not sure it's correct, but I was wondering if you could answer this question for me. Is in fact November 16th today your birthday?
No,
When is it?
I'm not sure.
The objection would be that that's hearsay, right?
That's right. It's hearsay. My birthday is Friday.
Friday. Well, early happy birthday then.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Second.
All in
All
favor?
right. Zoning
Right
petitions.
before to wish you a happy birthday.
Zoning petitions. I don't want to take your fire. 4585, we all sent back because of a concern, a continuing conversation raised by the applicant relative to the necessity of the county formalizing its 33-foot right-of-way. And Mark will make a presentation, but in a substantive way, the only issue before us today, I believe, is whether we are going to adhere to the staff recommendation that we insist upon a 33-foot right-of-way as part of the approval. So, Mark.
Sure. Yeah. Next on your agenda is petition 4585. This was what was at your meeting last month. And our apologies to the petitioner. They were on the YouTube channel, so they were not able to respond to questions at that time. That was ultimately referred on to the county board, and then due to questions and concerns about the requested dedication of a highway easement, it is back before you today. If you were present at the Transportation Committee meeting, the petitioner did make public comment. There was some discussion on the purpose of easements at that meeting. I'll just, I don't know if I can advance it from here or not.
Sure.
Yeah, if you could advance it to the PowerPoint. I keep going. Oh, thank you. And then a couple more slides. This is its location on Norris Road. You can see it's at the bend. This is on the 2040 plan map. If you could go one more slide. And here is on the zoning map. There's some other F1s and E3s. This is an existing F district parcel. This map is significant in that if a full dedication was required, it would reduce the lot size and would necessitate a rezoning of the parcel. So that's why KDOT changed their request for a stipulation for a dedication of a highway easement, which would keep the parcel size and acreage intact, but more formalize the prescriptive easement that already exists for the road as it exists. Next slide, please. There's an aerial. You could, next slide, please. And maybe one more closer. Yeah, one more slide. Thank you. So this shows the location of the parcel relative to Norris Road, the location of the existing house, and the proposed airstrip would be roughly running diagonally where the green areas, the non-farmed areas. One of the stipulations from Water Resources would be for a stormwater permit for the work to create the airstrip. Again, this is a request for a special use to allow a private airstrip for no more than 2 planes to land. Next slide, please. There's just a closer of the roughly the area where the airstrip would be. Next slide, please. There's their Plata Survey. It shows their property line does go to the roughly the center line of Norris Road. Next slide, please. Here roughly shows the diagonal area of the proposed airstrip. Next slide. There's a little more of a close-up there. There again, you can see the center line. This survey does show the prescriptive right-of-way that already exists, but their lot line goes to the roughly the middle of the road. Next slide, please. So these are water resource stipulations. Director Welnick is here if there's any questions on how that would be applied to their construction of the airstrip. Next slide, please. And then the Division of Transportation, they typically request a half right-way dedication. In this case, they have revised that to be dedication of a easement. With that, staff's happy to answer any questions, or I believe the petitioner is hopefully still on the line if there's any questions of them. Thank you.
Mr. Giordano, are you online?
Yeah, I'm still here.
You were registered as a speaker today. Do you want to make a presentation?
You know, I spoke earlier. I guess we're still, I have to allow kind of my counsel to kind of interject. But we're basically still kind of fact finding here. We're still trying to figure out kind of what the whole story is, you know? So I don't really have a whole lot to say other than what we've said before. I guess we were really kind of hoping that the application would be considered based on its merits and not necessarily based on what Kane County would like and for future improvements. So other than that, I really don't have much to say at this point.
Ms. Winicki?
Thank you, Chairman. I have a question for Mark. I don't know if you can answer this, but you know, I think about Olson Airport over on Route 47, and the utility lines are kind of marked because the planes are coming in, of course, landing and taking off. Would the homeowner be required to mark any kind of utility lines that are near the property? There must be utility lines along those roads.
I'll let the petitioner respond to that. It's their responsibility to meet the FAA requirements.
He may have hung up already, but.
No, I'm still here. I think in regards to Olson, you're talking about a much bigger situation. I mean, I think there's 100 planes stationed there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a much longer, wider, I think he has a paved runway. It's kind of a different situation.
Mr. Fries?
Yeah, I guess back to the easement issue. As Mark stated, KDOT reduced this from a dedication to a easement. The 66 is the absolute minimum roadway easement that we're asking for. Pretty standard thing. If you look at one of the maps, it showed North Aurora city limits just to the east. So this is a growth area, and you have Bliss Road, which is a kind of a connector road to the west. So I would say that Transportation Committee and staff and myself recommend that we stick to our guns on this. So I guess it would be up to the petitioner whether he wanted to withdraw his petition, ask us to table it, or approve with that stipulation.
I'm not sure if I have the same information as you, but just looking at the Kane County GIS, it looks like 33 feet already exists. I mean,
I couldn't speak to that.
Mr. Frost, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't speak to that. I'm not looking at what you're looking at, but
Mr. Van Kerkhoff?
Yeah, typically, if you're looking at GIS and the parcel base, typically on the GIS, it shows the prescriptive or actual right of way. So that's why the Plata Survey for properties like yours that have prescriptive right of way is the document that we really look at to see whether there's a roadway dedication already in place or whether the properties go to the center line of the road. So your survey is the accurate description on that, but what you see on GIS does reflect the reality that prescriptive or dedicated right of way is generally with each roadway that's a public road. Thank you.
Yeah, being on the Transportation Committee and hearing the presentation made by the Highway Department, I concur in everything Mr. Frost said, that this matter should either move forward with that 33-foot easement in place, or the petition should be withdrawn. But in addition, I have a question that I maybe could have seen last time of Ms. Wolnick. This runway, there's the big green patch in the middle. Is that a floodway? And is the runway in conflict with the floodway, or?
There's no mapped floodplain on this property.
Okay.
But as you mentioned, there is a drainage way, which there's a requirement in our stipulation to have a professional engineer size any drainage that goes under the proposed landing strip.
Okay, so it's all manageable.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Are there any other further comments or questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Shepro?
I don't claim to know anything about aviation regulation. Is there some additional approval from the FAA or somebody, even for a two-plane landing strip that is over and above our zoning requirements?
I have no idea. I mean, I would think that that's the applicant's
Right.
issue to address.
Yeah,
or
I was
potential
just
issue to-
thinking in terms of Ms. Wanicki's comment that I would imagine that there must be some sort of federal regulation about that
Well-
sort of thing, but I have no idea what it is.
Well, but to repeat, I
Yeah.
think that would be the applicant's ise to address. Mr. Fries?
I just have a question. I don't know if you're going to move on to a vote, but I guess I would like to know, does the petitioner want to continue, table?
Well, no, I think,
approve it with the
first off, do
stipulation?
we have a motion here yet?
You made the motion.
You moved to approve.
I don't recall.
Well, let's, okay, I want a motion then.
I'll move it.
Ms. Wanicki moves,
Or-
Mr. Berman seconds. So the matter before us as it stands is the approval of the petition, including the recommendations from the staff. Mr. Van Kerkhoff?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just recommend that maybe you ask the petitioner to clarify what action they would request today. Do they want this to move ahead with a vote, or would they like the committee to table it to give them more time to discuss with their counsel and then either withdraw or move ahead with their petition?
Mr. Giordano, we're prepared to vote today. Would you prefer that this matter be continued for a month so that you could contact counsel and discuss the matter further with staff prior to our vote?
would you guys be willing to give me 10 minutes to make a phone call?
Oh, my God.
No.
Well, this
Is there-
process has been, this procedure has been in place for months.
Right. The issue that I have though is the only time I'm able to get any information is at these meetings. So it's hard for me to make a decision on the spot without having.
Excuse me, what did you say again?
I'm sorry. So the problem I'm having is that I get most of the information from these actual meetings, like right here. So I haven't had a chance to discuss with my attorney that there does in fact, a prescriptive easement does in fact exist. I'm finding that out right now. So all I'm asking is if I could get 10 minutes to make a phone call and then maybe I could give you some direction.
Mr. Kenyon?
It seems, I feel like the committees, if he doesn't want to agree to what transportation says, he doesn't get the agreement. Right. So you want it or not?
Yeah, I mean,
Whatever your lawyer
ladies and
says,
gentlemen.
I think
we don't care.
what we have before us is a motion that contains our staff, Mr. Ford.
I would just make the motion that we table it for 30 days.
I'm asking for 10 minutes. You don't think that's a reasonable request?
Well, it would be a reasonable request had it been made 60 days ago.
But we're getting the information
We may
now.
honor your, we
We're not
may
getting-
honor your
we didn't-
request.
We
but
didn't
this
have the
matter has-
information 60 days ago, though. We have the
This
information
matter
now.
has been pending. This matter has been pending for months. It's been before the county board. It has been
you would like-
discussed and our staff has been available to discuss this matter on a daily basis.
Well,
So
Ladies and
now-
gentlemen, David, if I could interject, and I apologize for interrupting. Colin Anderson, I am David Giordano's attorney in this matter. I was under the impression the board had adjourned for the day, so I logged off the Zoom. I'm now coming back in after the fact. It sounds like there's a discussion that a prescriptive easement currently exists. The problem with that, Mr. Board Member, is that despite my request to the Kane County Department of Transportation, we've received no confirmation that a prescriptive easement of any kind exists. Instead, what we were provided with was draft language of a proposed easement for a full 33 feet, not the 27-foot easement that the board is claiming exists today. So is there evidence before the board that this prescriptive easement exists that I missed?
this is probably not the appropriate venue to address this issue. Mr. Ford has suggested, and he moves to table this, and we will table it until the next monthly meeting. That would be the
second the
motion.
motion.
Mr.
Fry
Fry
seconds.
seconds that. There's no discussion relative to a tabling motion. So would the clerk please call the roll?
Berman,
No.
Brown,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Froz,
Yes.
Caius,
Guys, yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Chairman, point of clarification.
Mr. Fries.
In transportation, I mentioned 27 as an example, and I went back and made clear to the petitioner that that was an example.
Well, there's obviously a lot of facts yet to
I
be
don't want to be
discussed.
quoted as saying that that's what it was. I
No,
just-
that's fine.
So there
Okay,
may
the
be
matter has
something
been tabled till next monthly meeting.
And that's December 9th, council member?
Probably.
Mr.
I think somebody was asking when our next meeting would be.
In the calendar.
Well, I'd have to check the calendar.
It would
be
be posted on the
December-
county
It'll
calendar.
be,
December 21st.
Thank you.
next item, Mr. Van Kerkhoff.
This item has also been before this committee before. This is our authorization to extension of and First Amendment to the Program Development Administrative Services Agreement between Kane County and the Illinois Energy Conservation Authority. They are our program administrator for our Kane Energy Efficiency Program. They also are serve that same function for many of the counties in northeastern Illinois. Staff has been recommending that we continue that agreement. This was before you before while we were continuing to work with this Kane County State's Attorney's Office. I want to thank them for their diligence and work on this agreement in light of all their other workload. So now we have a complete resolution, complete agreement reviewed by the State's Attorney's Office and attachments. And I'm happy to answer any questions, but ask that you move this on to executive and the full board. Thank you.
May we have a motion, please?
I would move it.
Mr. Kenyon moves.
Seconds.
Mr. Ford seconds. Do we have comments or questions? We've been hearing about this for a month. There being no questions, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Fraz, Caius,
Caius, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
passes.
Motion carries. Planning and special projects.
Thank you. Our planning team does work on behalf of a number of committees, and we kind of report all our work to this committee. So we have a report which I'm happy to answer questions on. I do want to highlight one, however, the regenerative grazing field day will be highlighted at Agriculture Committee on Thursday. But I want to thank the board members who attended, but that was a really well-attended event and a great example of our team going after a small grant that was able to do a lot of good. So you're welcome to come back and see that on Thursday. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything of Mr. Van Kerkhoff? Hearing nothing, thank you very much. We have any subdivision activity? There being none. We have a water resources resolution.
Yes, thank you. We have one resolution before you this morning. This is the next phase of the Ogden Gardens Water Trust Water Distribution Replacement Project. The purchasing department went out for qualifications that were received. The applicants and vendors were reviewed, and 3 of the 7 applicants were interviewed by myself and the Ogden Gardens Water Trust staff. And as a team, we selected Clark Dietz as the engineer to design and do the construction management on the water distribution reconstruction project. We're recommending approval of the resolution for entering into an agreement with Clark Dietz in the amount of $177,185.
Thank you.
I'll
Mr.
second.
Ford moves, Ms. Winicky seconds. Do we have comments or questions? This just continues to be a good project that we should all feel good about, so. Hearing no further comments, would the clerk please call the roll?
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Fraz,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
carries.
Mr. Berger, do we have anything from you today?
Good morning, Chairman Martin. This is Scott Berger. We do not have any items for you today.
Thank you. I mean, thank you for being here. Thank you for having no items.
Happy to oblige.
Do we have any new business anyone would like to bring forward? Hearing none, may we have a unanimous consent, please, to place reports on file?
I'll move it.
No,
Any
Unanimous,
objections?
Yes.
No objection, the reports are placed on file. We have no need for an executive session. Mr. Kenyon moves to adjourn. Do we have a second? Mr. Fraz, all in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion is adjourned. Our committee meeting is adjourned.